So what I want you to do is I want you to share a time when you felt like you weren't good enough. What triggered that feeling, and how did it affect your behavior and decision making during that time?
Ooh, what a good question. But so I always say, whenever you get asked a question, whenever you want to make a decision, just let your brain open up and flow and just call it on what comes up, right?
Yeah.
So without even thinking too much, I can tell you that when I filed for divorce,
Okay.
when I was 27 years old, I knew I was getting ahead of myself and I was making the wrong decision, right? But I was married to my ego at the time. So I had to do what I said I was going to do based on the challenge that my husband at the time had set forth. So he told me, chinga tu madre. And I said, nobody tells me chinga tu madre, along with other things, of course. But that was kind of like the trigger for me. How stupid is that? You know, I was so in tune with my ego that nobody could disrespect me. And I said, I'm filing for divorce. And he said, oh, really? And in Spanish, dijo, bueno, dale gas, chaparra. And when he said that, he challenged me. And so, sure enough, I called my attorney and I said, filing for divorce. Perla, what are you talking about? What has been going on? You all have a great marriage. And I said, no, tomorrow. I need the documents tomorrow. Because he said this and I don't take this, right? And so anyways, filed for divorce. He stood his ground because he was waiting for me to kind of recap.
Apologize.
Right? Apologize and retract. And I would have never done that. But I was so lost in my ego at that time. Fast forward months forward, during that episode of my time of my life in that situation, I felt like I made the wrong move and I affected my family. Like I terminated my family nucleus. And that ultimately made me feel like a bad mother for my daughter.
Okay.
Right? And then those behaviors started to twinkle around in other things I was doing.
So that shame
of that situation
of making that
carried
decision
over to my current relationship that I had already gotten into at that time. And then
that next relationship.
My next relationship, yes. And then those doubt and fears sipped into my business decisions.
Oh.
So I didn't feel I was capable enough of making the right decisions because I had already kind of abolished my own family. I'd gotten
That's
into
how you felt.
That's how I felt. And then I got into a toxic relationship because I wasn't ready to be in a relationship, right? Because
you were heartbroken.
Because I was heartbroken. And because whenever you get out of a relationship, you have to mourn a process. Even when you lose a girlfriend.
Yeah.
Or even when you lose a job, there has to be a mourning period.
Wow,
like you
you're so
have to
right.
give yourself grace for what you went through so that you're healed and you're not making decisions based on
Filling a void.
emotional turmoil. And what you're doing is filling up a void. And so when I went through a situation of the divorce where I affected my family, I ended my family, went into the bad, toxic relationship because I was in a toxic place, taking full responsibility for it. My business decisions were also not that smart, right?
So
I had to retract myself.
Do you remember, and I just want to
As a
go
CEO.
into before you, because that is like so powerful, the fact that so you made a good decision for your business because you retracted, but let's go back a little bit. Were there distinct decisions that you made in the business from a space of shame, from a space of like feeling not being yourself that affected your business and the bottom line?
Of course, the bad decisions where I was not paying attention to perhaps employees, processes, operations, patient retention, patient attendance, all that, where I was not making the right decisions at the right time, leading the team, ultimately affected my bottom line. As a matter of fact, at that time, we were, riding the curtails of the rate reductions from the state of Texas.
Yeah, you had just gone through so much.
I had just gone through so much, and now we were going into the effect of the rate reduction. So I lost millions of dollars in that year, 2016, 17, and a little bit of 18. It was super hard financially. And then I was not emotionally there to be able to make the right changes. And then I ended up closing some clinics. I closed some offices. Rather, if I'd been in my 100,
You think you could have saved that?
I could have saved them.
Perla, I didn't know that.
Yeah. Yes.
So think about that day. Let's go back to wrap this up so people can really, really think about that crossroads for them, because this is what's waiting for you. If you go back to that day where you were like, te pusiste tus moños, and you were like, I want this over. Even though in that moment and probably the years after that, you were like, that was the biggest mistake of my life. Now you think about it, was it?
No.
No.
Everything was
it
a
was
lesson.
God. It was God pushing you
needed
to
go
things.
through that to be here today, to be sharing my message
Yes.
today, which is my legacy, which my purpose is to ignite acts of kindness.
Yep.
But I can't do that until I'm a bridge for healing based off my story from success, failure, success. We all need to embrace our losses, our failures, to be able to know what is the lesson in there and switch it into your biggest triumph.
Yes.
And so I would not be here today had it not been for I married my ego, had it not been for I filed for divorce, had it not been for,
I fired myself as CEO.
I fired myself as a CEO, and that was painful and hard. If it wouldn't have been through losing so much money,
losing a baby.
and losing a baby, and then putting myself in a relationship that was sometimes fun, but mostly not that fun.
Yeah.
Where I triggered a person to be their worst self and vice versa. Like, I took a lot of insults. I accepted a lot of, bullshit, but I accepted it. So
Yeah.
I needed to deal with all that to be able to shut down, reconfigure myself, refocus,
And
and
rebuild.
reflourish.
And rebuild.
Yeah.